y'all. Thanks again for being here and for listening to some rando talk for the next little bit. I'm incredibly blessed, especially as a recruiter, speaking to, for the most part, a room full of developers. So I'm incredibly grateful. So thank you for spending some of your time here. I will try to make this informative. I will also try to not drone on so we can get on with our day. But you know, what I want to just say first off is my chats, my sessions that I do, are much more fun and people learn from it more, when we're interactive, right? So, you know, whether that's video, your video's on, drop some stuff in the chat, you know, and let's interact, because as you're going to see over the next little bit, over the next 9 hours that we have here, I'm going to go ahead and break down, obviously, how to navigate the job search, how to network. I'm just kidding, not 9 hours. But yeah, definitely chat it up, and I'll do the same. So an intro about me again, my name is Taylor Desseyn. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a senior recruiter advocate for Vaco Technology. We have a Toronto office. I actually just found out we just bought a company called Prodigy Bank. I don't know if y'all heard of it in Toronto. The announcement just happened today. So it's very funny that I'm speaking with Mint Beam today out of Toronto. So I've been recruiting for 9 years. I moved up here to do music like everyone else. I'm a drummer. I played in the honky tonks. I did some studio stuff. I did some touring stuff. And I broke down on the side of the road in the middle of summer with my band, and nothing was open. And I had no sleep, no shower. And I said, hey, you know what? I am done. This is it. I'm not doing this anymore. And so I leveraged my network, which was very little at the time, but very indicative of what I do now. And I found a job at Vaco. So like I said, Vaco, we are a recruiting company. We are worldwide now. Some offices in India, offices in England, obviously in Canada, Montreal, Toronto. So been here for 9 years, started kind of doing Fortune 100 recruiting. So your typical recruiter that would cold call you and have no idea what I was talking about. I still don't, I just lie better now. And I basically did that for 2.5 years. Realized that a lot of people, after hanging up on me, I was calling into Sony, Disney, Pacific Gas and Electric in the Bay Area. A lot of individuals hung up on me, and I realized that I needed to make more of a personal connection. And so I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. I was in the Research Triangle area. For those of you who do not know, it's huge tech out there. And so got really invested in the development scene specifically. Had my first chance to speak at my very first code conference out there. A developer approached me out of one of the user groups, goes, hey, we want you to talk at a code conference. And I go, well, I don't know how to code, so this is going to be a disaster. He goes, no, we want you to talk about being a recruiter and how to work. And that kind of spun up kind of my speaking, quote unquote, career. So fast forward now, I'm recruiting manager as well here at Vaco Nashville. I lead a team of 9 recruiters. Most offices aren't even that big, to put it in perspective. I've helped scale the entire Vaco technology team from 7 people to we're at 28 people now. Our revenue's gone from 2 million when we started, so we're going to probably hit 7 million this year. So again, 3-4x revenue as well. I've helped scale teams every place I've been, you know, want to help individuals navigate the job search. So what this kind of spun off of as well is my dad, not in the tech industry whatsoever. He's in the restaurant industry. He had a job, same job for 25 years, and he quit. He goes, I don't know what to do. And I go, what do you mean you don't know what to do? And he goes, I just don't, how do you find a job? And I said, what do you mean, how do you find a job? Because what happens is, as recruiters, we get so numb to what's going on, right? Like everybody's a figure, everybody's a number. And at the end of the day, how hard I try not to view individuals that way, it's still just part of my job. And so when my dad called me up and better, because most of us suck, but also because a lot of people just don't know how to find a job. And so that is basically, wait a minute, did I freeze? Am I back?
You're back now. You froze.
Sweet,
for
awesome.
Like 20 seconds.
I froze for 20 seconds?
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Well, we're back. So all that being said, I speak. I've done this talk a few times now. I did this talk. It went over really well at Codapalooza, Louisville's code conference virtually last month. And so what my goal is for this next little bit is to teach everybody how to network and really teach everybody how to be a recruiter, because most people don't know how to even network when it was a good time, when you could go to conferences and stuff. And then now we're pretty much stuck at home and you're like, I really don't know how to network. And so I'm going to go and start breaking down, first off, LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is such a powerful tool right now. LinkedIn is the perfect blend of like Facebook back in the early 2000s with the organic reach. What I mean by organic reach is if I like one of y'all's posts, all 5,000 of my followers see it. That is how organic it is. That's how incredible it is. And I have had the opportunity to work with individuals who have pushed more content over LinkedIn, documenting their journey. There's a software school in town called Nashville Software School. I have had software students document their failures and their successes and get jobs because they post on LinkedIn. Like my goal is to equip you with some tools after this next little bit to where you get done with this and you're like, all right, I think I can find a job and I feel comfortable doing it. So let's go ahead and start breaking down. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Please, questions. If you want to speak up, please interrupt me. Again, the more collaborative this session is, I think the more you'll get out of it. If you have a question, I'm sure a few other people on this chat are going to have a question as well. So please interrupt me or raise your hand or just slide into the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we can go ahead and get rolling on how to network during a pandemic. So let's talk about the build out of LinkedIn first, because I think LinkedIn is where you need to spend your entire, where you need to spend the bulk of your day networking. Because, and I'm going to kind of walk through a LinkedIn profile right now, and then we can talk about networking tactics. So first off, I want to go ahead and dive into your header on your LinkedIn, right? So this picture, my picture is, my cover picture is not as good as I want it to be. I need to add some more information to it. But I'm going to go to a buddy of mine. So I have two podcasts that I'll slide into the chat here if somebody asks a question. But this is one of my buddies that's on it. So the podcast is Unicorn Finders. We try to find a unicorn in both business and relationships. Dan is in our Vaco Tampa office. He has built a sports podcast to one of the top 10 downloaded podcasts in the entire country. His podcast has about 80,000 listeners a week, or 80,000 downloads, you could say. So all that being said, let's talk about the cover picture first. And I think I just saw a chat. No, not yet. That was just comments. So let's talk about the cover picture. A few things I like about Dan's cover picture. First off, he put his email in his cover picture, right? So if you're on the job search, you are going to drive everything through email, right? I would also recommend, if you are on the job search, to have a separate job search email. Does that make sense? You don't want to be responding back to your grandma over email and accidentally email the CTO of a company. You just don't want that to happen. That wouldn't end well. But hey, CTO may love some pictures of your dog. And so definitely put your email up there. Dan drives a lot of his traffic through Twitter. We're going to touch on Twitter briefly because I think Twitter is honestly a LinkedIn 2.0. I think there's a ton of value to be had over Twitter. The reason why I am speaking here today is because of Twitter, because Ro found me on Twitter. And so again, the power of Twitter is incredible right now. And so Dan, obviously you can see who he is, right? He's an advocate, relationship builder, connector, and wine guy. Dan and I talk about wine all the time. I would highly recommend to connect with him on LinkedIn. He is much funnier than I am. He is great at Baby Yoda memes and how they relate to the job search process. So connect with Dan. But what I like about his profile is it describes who he is immediately, right? And how to connect with him. And now you're probably asking, Taylor, how do I do this? There is a tool called Canva, C-A-N-V-A. I'm sure some of you have heard it. Some of you have heard of it. I know it's kind of made a big splash lately, but it basically is designed for dummies. So it has all the specs already built out, and then you can customize it however you want to customize it. That is what he used for this, and that is what I would recommend to use. Any questions in regards to the header picture? Drop it in the chat, or I'm going to give 2 seconds to respond. All right, moving on. Let's talk about profile pictures. Profile pictures is huge, right? It is the quintessential thing right now to draw people to your site, right? We live in a world of icons, right? You go to LinkedIn, right? You go to my LinkedIn, icon, right? Like you have to have a picture, and this is a very design marketing type view of LinkedIn, but you really need to have a picture that is well lit, right? Well lit's important, but also you need a picture that has some sort of pop of color, right? So again, I'm going to go back to my buddy Dan, right? Dan is a very clean background with his shirt being the pop of color, right? Again, you don't necessarily have to do this, but what I'm saying is if you want to start standing out and you really want to start driving like posting and whatnot through LinkedIn, you need to have something to stand out. I'm very fortunate. My wife is a commercial photographer. I understand I have a cheat code there, but you can easily selfie it up, right? Like, you know, I see Anna, one of the few videos up right now. Anna, the behind you have great natural light. I would selfie it up in front of all that natural light and you'll be just fine, right? So again, make sure it's well lit. I'm sure you can take master classes on photography, but that is not me. So any questions on the profile picture? No? Sweet, moving on. Again, this is Crash Course. We're gonna go through it really, really fast. I have a podcast, my personal podcast. I have an entire session like this already up. My podcast, and I'll go ahead and throw it in the chat too, is, yes, can I unmute? Go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. I wonder how can I get a good profile picture during the pandemic when everything is closed? So is it okay just to take it home and just apply some Photoshop and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I would take a natural light, right? Natural light's always the best. Everybody wants to be outside right now. So I'll just take it natural light in front of either a cool backdrop, right? If there's any like street graffiti would be really cool. Or if it's just a clean background and you're wearing some sort of cool shirt, right? And so that is my answer there.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So I just threw it in the chat. Guidance Counselor 2.0 is my podcast. Check it out. I have basically this entire session that I'm going over. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't write all this stuff down, go check it out, Hacking LinkedIn. I presented it at one of the meetups that I run in Nashville, which is now virtually. There's a question right here. Oh,
this is Ken. One might consider that an investment banker might have a different picture than someone else. In a different
sure.
So don't go too far outside of the norms, maybe, of your industry.
Yeah, know your industry. I think that's really good, right? So for me, so to put it in perspective, what I did is when I came so from Raleigh to Nashville, Raleigh at the time, my office was very buttoned up. I had to go out and buy suits, right? I had to wear a suit, and I was in the tech industry, to put it in perspective, right? So buy suits, came back to Nashville. I was wearing suits around Nashville, right? And Nashville is not a suit town at all, right? Nashville is hipster city, right? Music, cowboy hats, skinny jeans. Like, so I stuck out like a sore thumb. At one point, you know, my wife, who is the reason for my brand for the most part, she was like, no one is going to work with you. You look ridiculous. And so I said, okay. So the floral shirts stemmed out of me going to code conferences and presenting, and all developers were wearing black t-shirts. Right. So know your audience, right? I'm not saying if you're an investment banker to go out and buy a floral shirt and have that as your profile. But I also think there is creative ways. But I would, at the end of the day, have a very clean, simple white background with good lighting if you're an investment banker, because I think that could stand out as well. So there's one question here I'm going to get to. Alex said, can we go over the most important info to have on the cover picture? Yeah. Email. Any other sort of like if you do Twitter a lot, like your Twitter handle, if your GitHub, maybe your GitHub link, if you have any sort of website, maybe your website link, or, you know, just a link to your website, I think those would be good. But we're going to kind of move through the profile here, and there's going to be other places where you can sprinkle all this stuff in. So we'll get there. Hopefully that answers that question. Again, thanks for the chat, Alex. Keep the chat flowing. This is so good. All right, so let's talk a bit about the about section. So the about section, so we live in a TLDR culture. Too long, didn't read, right? I don't know about you. I TLDR'd a sentence yesterday, people. a sentence from one of my work associates. I asked them a question and they go, Taylor, that was the second half of the sentence. I go, oh my word. The about section should be really short. I edited my about section before my current about section. It was 9 paragraphs. I was like, no one's reading this. I'm not reading it. And so I shortened it up, right? So again, you need to think about it as a recruiter. I'm going to look at your profile and I'm not going to click the see more. Does that make sense? I'm not going to click it. Or I'm going to click it if you have something witty and funny to say, right? Like for me, working with recruiters is about as awkward and terrible as writing your own bio, right? So I feel like that's kind of funny. So I'm going to click on it and then I'm going to see about me. And I said, if you're still reading this bio, and then here's some links, right? You want people to flow through your profile, but I need to know what you do, right? Like I don't need to know you're a good communicator. I need to know I'm focusing on React development, wanting to get into full stack .NET development, right? Or I'm a current code school boot camper targeting Python positions in the next 3 months, right? Like I need to know what you do in 2 sentences. So that's incredibly important in the about section. Any questions about the about section? And again, I'm flying through this right now because I really technically have 40 minutes and I spoke about LinkedIn for 2.5 hours on the Louisville conference. So again, I'm flying through this. And then please reach out to me. I have a texting community. I'm gonna throw it in the chat right now. Just text me. I basically send out job tips. Basically, I send out stuff like this entire session in bite-sized text messages once a day to your phone. So shoot me a text. It's from me. I have 150 people already on my community, and that is still growing. So please check that out. Shoot me a text. I'd love to have you a part of it. I don't spam you. I don't sell you on anything. It's just good, clean, wholesome job tip fun. All right, so let's go to the featured section. Featured section. Oh,
a really quick question. Like,
yes.
What you mentioned for the about section, like for example, I'm a student graduating, for example, in October, like targeting at React developer. Like that's actually something I put under my introduction. Like you're right, that's my name. So I wonder. Yeah, it's like the recruiter against recruiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it actually there, like.
So I'm going to be honest with you. Thank you for saying something. I totally missed over that. And that's an incredibly important part. So I'm going so fast. I just missed an incredibly important feature. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. So let's back up a little bit. So the title portion. So the title portion is incredibly important. Thank you, whoever said that. I really, really appreciate it. Recruiters. So I'm going to show you a little peel behind the onion, if you will. This is the mechanism that recruiters use to spam you on LinkedIn, right? Not many people get to see this. And so hopefully it pulls up because what I will show you is how recruiters search, right? So I'm giving you all the answers to the test right now. So let's say I'm looking for a developer. And I'm looking for a developer, let's just say Toronto. Quebec City. So right now there are 3,362 total candidates with the word developer in their profile, right? Now, the reason why you need to select I'm open to opportunities, because this is where I go to first. Right? You know, everybody knows the open to opportunities tab. So you go here. So the recruiters go here and we just start to scroll. Right? And so let's say I need a more specific developer. Let's say I need a .NET developer. Right? So I'm doing developer and .NET. Right? There are 92 people in Quebec that are open to job opportunities. So I'm going to start looking at their title portion, right? So their title portion right here is this: architect, analyst, full stack mobile developer, right? A junior software developer. Actually, that's better. Consultant, architect. So here's what I don't like about these. I don't know what type of architect. Are you a .NET architect? Are you a JavaScript architect? Are you React architect? Like, this is in the title portion. Recruiters will not even get to your profile if your title is not specific, like software developer. Pascal, what type of software developer, dude? .NET, React, Python, right? And so that's really, really important to include, because, so right here, so Luis did it, analyst, programmer, .NET, C#, Angular, boom. So if I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for a .NET developer, I'm clicking on his profile 10 times out of 10. So that is why the title portion is so important. So whoever brought that up, again, I can only see 4 people on the screen right now. Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me, because that is an incredibly important feature. Any questions on that? No? Cool. Moving on. Featured section.
Sorry,
This kind of, yes, go ahead. Yep.
so for people who are in boot camps who are junior, what are things that should be included in the title? So let's say if your focus is going to be React or React Native, for example, but you're junior, should you say junior React developer, or what should you do?
Yeah, I would say like current boot camp, or current boot camp student targeting React/React Native opportunities.
Cool.
Right. Just very, very specific. And then we'll get to my thoughts on making your resume for junior dev to look like you actually have a real job, because you do, your job is boot camp and you do projects, and it needs to be notated like that. So we'll get there in a second. All right.
Taylor,
Talk about yes.
I had a thought, and also I think Brian had the same thought as me in the text chat. So there is a point of contention where people say, should junior developers say they're junior? Like, should they mention that at all on their resume or LinkedIn?
So I think it's important to write your resume, write your LinkedIn to make it look like you're, so yes and no. I think you need to write your resume and your LinkedIn if you're a junior developer, and notate your boot camp projects or any side projects like they're actual jobs, because they are. If you can show code, it's in GitHub, people can see it, it is an actual job. Even if it's a month or two, it's an actual job. So you need to notate it that way, right? What happens is recruiters and hiring managers alike, when they see side projects or boot camp projects, we zone out. We throw the resume away, right? And so the company on a resume, or the company in your LinkedIn, needs to be obviously the software school that you're going to, but then the projects need to be outlined like it's an actual full-time job. And so I do think it's important to not say you're a senior developer, but yeah, sure. I mean, don't plaster junior developer all over your profile. But I also think too, I think if you start to get a lot of calls about senior positions and you're having to say, well, I'm junior, then you may need to go back and obviously fix that on your LinkedIn, right? Because recruiters don't read, right? I just admitted I don't read, right? So be very cautious about that. Beta, I don't know if I answered this. As a full stack dev, there'll be plenty of stuff. What is the most important to put in there? Front end, back end, whatever you're touching. React/Python developer, right? Angular/.NET Core developer, right? Front end, back end, to put that in the title. Any more questions? I thought I heard somebody start talking. Cool, moving on. The featured section, very important here, right? So for me, these are my 3 main things that I want people to glean when they come to my profile, right? The first thing is, the first link is a little bit about me, right? So LinkedIn doesn't allow you to embed videos yet. I can't wait till they do, but basically you click on that and then you go to an about me, right? So it's just a quick intro. You can learn about me, 2-minute video. This is my Vaco website. So if you want to go check it, vaco.com/Taylor. It has resume templates, videos, blogs, everything about me in here. So obviously I want people to go to this site. And then finally, I use a software called Linktree. This is everything. This is everything in the entire Taylor Desseyn ecosystem is right here that you can check out. So the features section, if your developer, needs to be GitHub. What I would do is I would record yourself using Loom, Loom. It's a great piece of software. I would use Loom to record your capstone, throw it up on YouTube, and link it in your LinkedIn. And then we'll talk about content creation here soon. But I also would say if you're a junior developer, I would post your capstone in you talking through your capstone on LinkedIn. Also, nobody has done it yet. And I've spoken at Nashville Software School so many times, and no one's done it yet. So maybe somebody from MintBeam, the community of MintBeam, will do it. I would selfie style up your phone and do a first round interview and you talking into your phone. And I would put it on the feature section. And here's why. Let's face it, the same interview, first round everywhere, is what? Hey, Jennifer, tell me about yourself. Hey, Ro, what's your biggest accomplishments? Hey, Anna, what's a cool thing you've done recently? Hey, Don, what's your biggest weakness? But then, of course, we all spin our weaknesses into a positive. I'm so OCD, but it's really good. I'm really, great at work. That's all first round interviews are. So why in the world can you not selfie style it up? And it'll be awkward. It'll be awkward. But selfie style it up, put it on LinkedIn to see. One of my dudes who has never put out a LinkedIn post, and he was a recruiter at Vaco. He's not at Vaco anymore. He moved back home to another city. He put out one video, and it was an about him. He got 10,000 views, organic, 10,000 views, over 100 DMs. He stopped. He was submitting his resume everywhere. He got 5 offers from one video. And it was him saying, hey, here I am. I moved back to Minneapolis. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I've been in recruiting. I love software. Would love to connect. And he literally just said, he hit me up the other week because he and I consulted on the video before he did it. And I'm always open to consulting on videos and stuff. Send me your video. I'll give you the good, bad, and ugly. But literally, he has gotten job offers because of the video. One of my other all right, then let's stop talking about recruiters. One of my data scientist folks, he was in my band. He's now a data scientist in New York, which is kind of funny, which makes sense. He used to build amps and guitars all the time. It makes sense. He has been getting interviews because he started to post on LinkedIn his day-to-day as a data scientist. And he's getting interviews because he's posting. Because hiring managers are like, this guy gets it. So do that. I will reshare it and give you mad props if you do it. But no one's done it yet. So I'm gonna be watching. Any questions on the featured section? Nope. Awesome. Cool. So let's keep moving on. So here's where, people talk about writing a LinkedIn versus writing a resume. There are like the podcasts I have with the Unicorn Finders, like we got into argument on one of our podcasts because I think your LinkedIn should be a summary of your resume, but then my dudes on my podcast say, no, your resume should be your LinkedIn as well. In my opinion, like your LinkedIn needs to be at minimum 3 or 4 bullet points each position. And if you're in software, right, I want to know, tell me about the project you've developed at a super high level, 30,000 foot view. Like basically talk to me like you're talking to your parents or your family members, right? We all talk to our family members differently than we talk to people in our industry. My mom still thinks I fix computers. I do not fix computers. I find the people to fix them. And even then I don't even do that. So that is how I would write your first bullet point in your LinkedIn, right? I developed the widget. So when you go to LinkedIn and the red notification on the bell for notifications, I developed that, right? 30,000 foot view, what do? This is also how you write a resume too. The next bullet point or 2 or 3 should be specific tasks and technologies you use to develop this feature, right? So I used React Redux on the front end for some other buzzwords I don't understand. We deployed it to AWS using Lambda with a DynamoDB backend. Right? So what that does for recruiters is allows us to search on keywords in your LinkedIn, because again, LinkedIn is not for you. LinkedIn is for recruiters. And so you need to write your LinkedIn for that. And then the final section needs to be a recap of your entire tech stack from front to back. Because again, that's another place to put more Control F buzzwords, if that makes sense. Any questions on how to write the body of your LinkedIn? No? Cool. Moving on. Recommendations. So let's talk about, so skills endorsements. I'm not big on that. That's not, I wouldn't go around asking for skills or endorsements. I would ask for recommendations, right? So recommendations is huge because I look, every developer I work with, I check if somebody writes a recommendation for them. Because let me ask you this. Let's say I have 2 junior developers for one job. One junior developer, and I don't know these junior developers, and I go to one junior developer's profile and they have 4 recommendations talking about, let's face it, when you hire a junior dev, what do you hire for? You hire for work ethic, you hire for people skills, you hire for problem solving skills. You don't hire for tech, right? You hire for the things that you can learn and hone in on in non-tech jobs. And so if I see 4 or 5 recommendations on a junior dev, I'm like, ooh, this guy or girl gets it. Like, they're good. And the other person has 0 recommendations. Who do you think I'm messaging about the role? So recommendations one. And so I would take time this afternoon. It's pretty simple. It's really easy. You just ask for a recommendation. Actually, don't do that. Ask for a recommendation. And then you can just type in anybody, right? Just type in a name. Right? If I want to, Dave Harms, he's already written me one, but Dave Harms, click on it. There's a few more of the prompts, and it sends them a request. Please do recommendations. Any other thoughts on that?
Should you reach out to them personally and ask?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't just like blast them, right? Like, yeah, but I would absolutely go through and ask.
Hi there, Jerome here. Another advice I've been given is whenever there's a layoff in your company, take a second and then write a recommendation for all the colleagues you were let go, because that will be super useful for them when they start job hunting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, so we're going to go to kind of some X's and O's of using LinkedIn. Okay. So how to find a job, etc. So I'm going to use Vaco, my company, right? So, all right. So clean slate, you just get laid off today, right? You're like, crap. Where do I want to go work? I want to go work for Vaco. I want to go work with Taylor. Please come work with me, right? So I'm going to search. I'm going to go to LinkedIn. I'm going to wake up the next morning after getting a good night's sleep. I'm relaxed because I know I'm going to find a job here soon. I'm going to go on LinkedIn and I'm going to plug in Vaco. I want to work at Vaco. So I'm going to go to people. There are 2,892 employees at Vaco. I didn't realize there was that many, right? 2,729 of them are United States. 404 are in San Francisco, et cetera, et cetera. You can see this, right? So let's see. I'm going to see. So then it kind of goes through here, right? It goes through all of, so you can connect with people, right? So let's say I'm in Nashville, right? So I want to go work for Vaco in Nashville. I'm going to click I'm going to click the Nashville, and all these people, all 251 employees are in Nashville. All of them. So you're like, Taylor, this is great. What do I do with this information? You start connecting with each person. And what I would do is I would connect with these people by sending a message, a specific message for each person, a unique message for each person. Because here's why I would do a message, right? So if you go to my messaging, right, I'm a little overrun. And so are a lot of people when it comes to LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn's a little spammy, right? But again, little overrun, right? When you send a message to somebody, it gets notified at the very top up here. If you don't send a message, I get connections all the time. I just accept. I accept all the time. Accept. I never know who I accepted with unless you send me a message. So that is why you always need to tailor a message with every single connection. And I would use the shared connections, right? So Mike Yedlicka, he's an awesome .NET developer. I know him. He and I share 15 connections, right? So I'm going to go to his profile and I'm going to click on the 15 connections I know, right? So Rich Rader, I know Rich. I placed Rich. So, but I mean, honestly, I don't know Mike, right? So what I would do is I would literally message Mike, go, hey, Mike, would love to connect with you. I've always wanted to work at Vaco. I see that we're connected with Rich. I actually placed Rich at Evacor. Oh, okay, cool. Well, yeah, what's up? What do you want? Well, do you have 5 to 10 minutes to chat? And so here's where, and I saw this question. We'll get there in a second. What people have problems with is they don't know what to do or what to ask once somebody accepts and wants to like network, right? This is the biggest thing I run into. People are like, what do I do? Like, what do I say? What do I ask? I would literally do a Zoom call with every person that accepts with you and wants to chat about their time working for the company. Listen, everybody wants to talk. Everybody likes to talk. I'm flattered to be talking right now. I love talking. Even the like most quiet individuals, while they don't love the spotlight in large groups, if you're at a party and you're by yourself, back when we used to go to parties, you usually like to at least have one person talk to you, one person, ask you questions. And you get done with that party, or it's like a date, and that one date asks you all the questions. You're like, man, that felt good, right? Same thing with the job search. All you have to do is message the individual. Hey, Mike, always wanted to work at Vaco. You got 5 minutes to do a Zoom call with me? 5 minutes. Sure. What do you want to talk about? I just want to know about how you got to Vaco and if you like it. Absolutely. 5 minutes, because let's face it, people don't want to talk more than 5 minutes for a stranger. 5-minute Zoom call. At the end of the call, I would ask to be referred to somebody else, right? So this is the recruiter mindset, right? So when I get off a call with a developer, I always ask, hey, who else can you introduce me to, right? So I'm giving you a secret of how I work. When you get off of a call with somebody in your network, hey, Mike, thanks again for talking to me about Vaco, man. Do you know anybody else at Vaco that I could talk to with your background? Actually, Taylor, you know what I do? I'm going to get you connected with so-and-so. Okay, great. What's their email? Actually, you know what, Taylor, better yet? I'll email intro y'all. There's another connection, right? And so then this starts to build, but I think what a lot of people don't understand is this is a full-time job. I have a full-time job because this is a full-time job. So you can't expect the job search process to like try to navigate it with like waking up, drinking your coffee, watching Netflix, and DMing people for an hour. It just doesn't work. Real quick question going back here. Does LinkedIn recommendations provide question prompts to the person? Yes, it allows you to freeform what you want them to say. So there is, when you send them the request, when you go through the prompts, it says, what do you want to ask? And I just usually say there, like, hey, I want you to highlight me and my technical knowledge of being a recruiter. And so the developer can talk about me and my technical knowledge, right? So you can kind of tailor that. So let's talk about organic reach for a second, right? So we're going to go here. Let me know if you have any questions. Drop them in the chat as I'm kind of going through, because I'm trying to prove a point here. All right. So Bob, I don't know Bob. You see Bob's a second connection. Bob's a second connection because we're not connected, but we're connected through one person. So Sarah liked Bob's status. Now I'm seeing Bob's video, right? Let's do another one. I don't know Thomas Halfman. Thomas Halfman's a second connection. Rebecca and I went to college together. She liked his status. So guess what I'm seeing, right? Let's do one more. Third connection, Blake Solomon, right? Alex Lieberman. I wish I was connected with Alex. He's the CEO of Morning Brew, but he commented on this. So I'm seeing Blake. You see what I'm saying? So literally, if we're talking about networking networking during a pandemic, like if this is one thing you get out of this entire session, is networking in today's world is literally commenting and liking on people's LinkedIn posts. That's it. Even the most introverted person can do that. I'm pretty introverted, believe it or not. I'm going to go take a nap after this talk. Right? Like, so, but what this pandemic has given me is this has given me the opportunity to message with people and connect with people and network with people from the comfort of my own home on my terms, but I'm able to cast a wider net. Honestly, the pandemic has allowed me to network with more people and introduce myself to more people and organizations than I'd ever be able to, all because of LinkedIn and Twitter. Right? The reason why I'm on this call is because of Twitter and because of networking. Right? Rose slid into my DMs randomly. Right? Slid in. And you know what? We had a good conversation. And here I am. Shit works. It just works. But you got to be comfortable with getting in people's DMs, asking questions, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see here. There's another question here for recommendations. Is getting developers at your level worth it, or should you focus on people with more distinguished positions? Everything. I mean, like peers, managers, like even like if there are people under you, like getting their like everything. There's not a bad recommendation at all. So do that. Let's talk about Twitter real fast. So Twitter is kind of an interesting beast, for sure. And so Twitter is like, it's basically in my mind is like text messaging for LinkedIn. Like it's like a texting LinkedIn, right? And so again, intro video. So I'm going to kind of hit the highlights, right? Cover photo, same thing. Canva, go to Canva. It's got a Twitter header, same thing, right? For me, recruiters against recruiters. I did not come up with that. My wife did. I'm not that clever. And then it's got my website, right? Pretty simple, straight to the point. Again, you see I like the yellow, right? If you look in a sea of icons, like it's very obvious that I stand out, right? And then same thing here, describing yourself for who you are. I've noticed my eye. The way my eye works is I follow people and I connect with people if they have a bunch of emojis and this whole thing is filled out. I don't know what it is. And Ro, I don't know if you can attest to this too, but like for whatever reason, if this thing is packed with emojis and stuff, I connect. So just a little 2 cents there. And so, but again, so your pinned tweet is like your featured section on your LinkedIn. Right? The one thing you want to draw people to, right? There's also, you get one link as well. So that's where I do my link tree. But again, so if you want to, and I'll put this in the chat, you can follow my important tech people list. If you're wanting how to get started on Twitter, create a Twitter account, do everything I just said, follow this list, and start liking and retweeting and commenting. So the engagement is just as good on Twitter as it is LinkedIn. The only difference is if I follow Ro, she doesn't have to follow me back, right? What's cool about LinkedIn is that if I connect with Ro, she's pretty much gonna accept, and then we both follow each other, which is why I think LinkedIn is like still paramount and still the most important networking tool, but Twitter's next. Because I get connected all over the country with developers and engineers because one person likes my tweet and all of their followers see it. Like to let you know, and again, this isn't a humble brag or sick brag or anything like that. I have had tweets get 70, 80, 90,000 impressions because people started to like my tweets. And so it's unreal. It's like a tidal wave how Twitter works. So yeah, the dev community is wild. So that's a crash course on Twitter. Create a profile, follow a list, follow people, start DMing, start engaging, and that'll take time as well. That's a little bit more of a slow thing, but you can get really targeted because what you can do is like you can target search Twitter. You do Toronto, people you follow near you. Obviously, I have one. I know Colby. He and I play ice hockey together, but I do play ice hockey. Love Toronto. I want to come up and play hockey in Toronto. But so Colby, he's the only person near me that I follow that mentioned Toronto, right? Montreal. So again, that's how you can get really specific, right? So you can do, so you can get involved in conversations. So people you follow near you. Obviously, most of the people that I follow aren't using the word software, so I would change it up, right? So let's do, so 100 days of code is like a thing that developers use a lot to document their coding journey. So I can do 100 days of code. Well, that didn't work. I don't know why that didn't work. Anyways, you get the gist, right? You get the gist. So anyways, so that is how you leverage Twitter. Let's see here. How quickly should one respond to a job that was just posted? Do hiring managers have windows for applications to come in? Yeah, I mean, this is a whole nother thing as well. How should one respond to a job that was just posted? I would not submit your resume. So this is, and I'm gonna go and stop sharing my screen because that's pretty much a crash course on everything. And I have like 9 minutes for I have to be on another call, but I would stop submitting your resume to job postings. If you see a job posting on Indeed or Dice, I would search in LinkedIn for that company. And then I would search the field you're in. So if you're a developer, I would connect with developer managers, dev managers, and I would DM them. Hey, I just saw this posting on Indeed that you're looking for a junior .NET dev. I'm in the .NET bootcamp. I should be done here next month. Who should I speak to about this role? It takes time, but it works. It works. So that's what I would do. Can I make my headshot like yours without hiring somebody? Yeah, I don't know all the intricacies of doing it. I would just get in front of some good natural light is my best advice. But then if you're good with Photoshop, maybe you can put a white background, like take it in front of a white background and then throw a color in the back. But again, I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. Cool. Sweet. So that's it. I mean, that was a lot. I word vomited for the last hour. So thank you for paying attention or somewhat paying attention. We have 8 minutes for questions, or I will end it now and you can connect with me. So a few other ways, obviously follow me on Twitter at @TDesseyn. Join my texting community. If you want to shoot me an email, taylord@vaco.com. Nope. taylord@vaco.com. Podcast, Guidance Counselor 2.0 for this session already. My other podcasts, Unicorn Finders, check that out as well. Are there any more kind of questions that you want about the job search or framing your LinkedIn or your resume? I will leave the chat open for another minute or two. And if nobody asks anything, then we will be done here.
Yeah, this is Kat. I know there's a concept of a passive candidate, but I guess that depends if that recruiter has been told to look for passive candidates for that role.
Say that one more time.
The concept passive candidate, someone that's not looking for a job.
What about it?
But I would think that would depend on if the company believes that they're going to get a better person by looking for a passive candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I actually work better with passive candidates. I think a lot of people, and let me know if this doesn't answer your question, but I think you need to be networking right now, even if you're passive, right? People are like, well, I'm not looking for a job. I don't need a network. No. You need to be networking now. And if you're passive, then you need to obviously continue to network, but then if recruiters reach out to you, field their opportunities. Like I'd have conversations. Most of my people that I place have been passive. I've made a living off placing passive candidates. I don't know if that answers your question. Does that answer your question?
I think you might have to make a judgment call. If you're out of work, I think you want to not be passive.
Oh, yeah. Don't be passive if you're out of work.
Right. You don't.
Yeah, you need to be hustling for
Mhm.
sure. I mean, like 8 to 5, wake up, DM people in the morning, like I showed you over the search feature in LinkedIn, set up calls for the afternoon. I mean, literally, that's my job. That's literally what I do. I DM random people. I beg them to talk to me, and then I talk to them in the afternoon, and then I submit them to jobs, and then I get them jobs, and then there we go. So yeah, if you don't have a job, you need to be recruiting. You need to turn into a recruiter. A few more questions. Any advice for self-taught non-boot camp aspiring devs in terms of showing experience and getting noticed? Yes. So I'm really big on this. Take on free work. That is not a popular opinion. I understand that. Again, if you do not have work, I would open up your phone and text people in your network, right? Churches, nonprofits. Do you need a Shopify account set up? Do you need a payment processing module within your website? Like I would offer your services always. And I would get that on your resume and notate it as a job, because I will tell you this, I have placed junior devs with 5 personal projects over 6 months before I have placed like a junior dev coming out of boot camp. Does that make sense? Like I've placed people who haven't even done boot camps. They've just taken on side hustles because they've taken on a ton and they've learned a ton. I think right now job experience is huge. Job experience is huge. Hopefully I answered your question. What else? Should you leave the previous professional experience in my LinkedIn body, even though they're not related to your job search? Like I worked. Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. Yeah, some recruiters say yes, some say no. I would say just keep your LinkedIn what you want to be called about, right? If the manager asks, hey, what have you been doing before? Maybe have a resume ready to go with some stuff before. But again, I would say keep your LinkedIn very specific with what you want to get called about. Do you have advice? Again, I got 3 minutes. Great questions. Keep them coming, but I'm going to hit on them real quick. If you want me to deep dive more into this stuff, shoot me a text, shoot me an email, and we can chat it up more. Do you have any advice for aspiring devs who are trying to break into the field after coming from unrelated jobs, professions, academic backgrounds? Yeah, same thing. Like, people are like, you need to network, you need to hit up randos and offer your services. Like I would just start with your phone book, or not phone book. I haven't even opened a phone book in years, but like start with your contact list on your phone. And start there. Are there better ways to sell internship experience as relevant industry experience? Yeah, you write your internship like you are at a job, right? I'm going to put this out there for me. I'm looking from an internship perspective, like UI, UX, and graphic designers and stuff. So to be a part of the Taylor Desseyn team, there's already 4 people. It's not paid, but again, I'm giving these people who don't have jobs specific work experience. I'm going to set them up within my network, right? I've met 4,000 people at this point in my career, over 4,000. I'm going to get them connected. I'm going to get them to write their resume to where they're working for me as a content manager, and they're going to write their resume like it's an actual job. Just because you're not getting paid doesn't mean it's not an actual job. Cassie, I was literally working at a restaurant before being a dev. If you want to chat? Yes, chat. There we go. Should free jobs go under volunteer? No. Free jobs go under job experience. It is job experience. You have real world work experience. Cool. Y'all, I got to hop off on another call. I appreciate y'all time. Please connect with me. And thank y'all for coming up. Appreciate it.